And in similar fashion, now I can talk about Pokken Tournament Deluxe. Oh boy. Okay, so I'm gonna give my previous thoughts on Pokken Tournament right now. Pokken Tournament was an okay game. The fighting mechanics were really good. Pokken Tournament, for those who don't know, is a Pokemon fighting game. I'm pretty sure you guys would know what it is, but if you don't, there it is. But the fighting mechanics were really good. Pokken had a great battle system, and it was just a really fun fighting game. I had a lot of fun playing it with my friends, even though I had to play it in 30 frames per second, which could be infuriating because I know I could win, but I'm losing because I have to get used to different frame inputs. It was still a fun fighting game, and online play was really fun. And I actually got quite a number of matches. It was actually better than Smash's online mode, which I find kind of dumb, but at least it had a good online mode, though I could have done without the friend codes, to be honest. You know, you have Miiverse, just use that. It was better. Pokken Tournament on Wii U, I should say. That was great. That was great. The fighting mechanics were great, and by the way, going into Pokken Tournament Deluxe for a bit, it's pretty much the same deal here. There's not much really new. But with Pokken Tournament, my main problem with the main game on the Wii U is the single player. It's one of the worst, if not the worst, single-player experience I've ever had in a fighting game. Yes, I did just say that. The single-player lasted way too long, the AI was way too cheap, especially Shadow Mewtwo was a bitch. I hated him. And he's still just as much of a bitch in this game. He's like Metal Sonic in Sonic the Fighters, only worse. When it comes to like some of the other options you have for single player, there's not much. You know, you have this really good trainer customization, but it's like, okay, it's about the only thing you can do with money, so who cares? The unlockables as well. That's what you played the single player for. And you had to play so much of it just to unlock everything. I did it, and I eventually, I went through with it, but god damn it, it was not a fun experience going to get all of that shit. It honestly was, I still say it's one of the worst single-player experiences I've ever had in a fighting game. Probably one of the worst adventure modes I've ever played through, like in any game. It honestly was just such a terrible experience. The only thing that kept me from hating it was that the fighting mechanics were really good. But versing the AI was just not fun at all. You know, besides online mode and that shitty single player mode and single battle, that was really the only thing that was really there in Pokken Tournament. There really wasn't much there. There was a trainer customization, which was good. It was really good, actually. Better than the main series, which I find dumb. But, you know, whatever. It was good, but, you know, it wasn't enough to keep me playing. Not to mention, because there was so little single player, I didn't have a reason to go back and get those things. And honestly, Pokken Tournament Deluxe kind of feels like the same game, and for some reason they charged me $60. I said it in my random ramble for the Pokemon announcements. I hated that I had to spend $60 on the game again, especially because I was kind of wary about it the first time. But once I saw some of the new content, I figured, okay, maybe it is worth it. You know, there's 4 new characters, everything is unlocked from the start, which is nice. I don't have to play that shitty single-player mode, and maybe they have a chance to improve it. And they're even adding one of my favorite additions from another fighting game I love, Soul Calibur 2, with the Team Versus mode, where they have a 3-on-3 battle, or an 8-on-8 battle. Oh god, think of the possibilities this could have, and if there is any version of Pokken Tournament to get, you need to get the Switch version. It has, it has a better roster, a better online mode as far as I know. I haven't actually tried it. Maybe I should have before recording this, but whatever. Too late now. And the single player is slightly better, if only because it does have some more content. It has this, like, puzzle that if you do certain unlockables, it's kind of like how Smash Brothers has rewards whenever you do certain things. Like, you know, for example, if you beat Classic Mode with every character, you get, like, a Master Hand trophy. It's sort of like a wall of rewards that you can get, a wall of unlockables that you can get, and you can smash a few to get them for free with the Golden Hammer. It's sort of like that. It has that for the single-player mode, and you know, it's fine. I appreciate that, but the single player mode is still shit. Thankfully, it is completely optional. You do not have to do it in order to play multiplayer, so that is a humongous improvement and automatically brings up my score, my invisible score that I'm not going to tell you, from Pokken Tournament to like a 6 or a 7 to like an 8. Not a 9, but an 8 at the very least, which, you know, is actually a good score. Shut up, it's a good score, stop saying it isn't. Pokken Tournament Deluxe does improve on that as well. It also has a few more things to do with single player. Now it has the daily challenges for the single player, which is essentially you using a Pokemon and doing a single battle or a team battle with that Pokemon. And best, if you can get 2 out of 3 matches won, you can get some free level ups. So leveling up your Pokemon doesn't seem like that much of an annoyance this time, which is nice. There was actually a leveling system for your Pokemon. It's pretty basic. You level up, you choose a stat, you get like a +1 to your stats. You can choose which stat you can give the +1 to. You can customize your stats. Pretty simple, pretty basic, nothing I need to go over. That was in the original game as well. And, you know, like I said, new characters and new Pokemon, new support Pokemon. The new support Pokemon I haven't really experimented with, but the new characters I have played with. Darkrai, Empoleon, Scizor, Decidueye from Sun and Moon, which is interesting, and Krogunk. Those were the 4 characters that were added. All of those 4 characters are very unique from the rest of the cast and fit right in. And they are great characters in their own right. Not really a fan of Darkrai, but that's just more of a personal preference. He is a very good fighter, though. And I do know some people that are good with him. Decidueye is really fun. Krogunk is okay. He's about what I expect. Though he's really a bitch to beat with his AI. And Scizor is amazing. And Empoleon's pretty good, too. You know, Lucario will forever be my main, because Lucario is the best Pokemon ever, and no one can convince me otherwise. You know, because, let's be honest here, he is. He's voiced by Goku. Shut up. The 5 characters that were added were really good. You know, the new Pokemon fit in quite well. The support Pokemon, you know, they fit in quite well as well. There's nothing really needs to be said about them. They're great additions. You know, I especially love Darkrai's animations. Those are really creepy, especially his super move. Holy shit. It's not quite Gengar levels of creepy, because if you've seen that, that was just like, what the fuck? But, you know, it was still quite fun. As for the last single player mode, which actually can be a multiplayer mode, to be fair, is the team battle. Like I said, it's a mode that essentially allows you to pick 3 characters, and whenever one Pokemon drops, that player switches to the next Pokemon. You can even pick your starting Pokemon or the next Pokemon with a specific button. So that's pretty interesting. I enjoy that battle mode. That's probably the best new feature of the entire game. And the fighting mechanics are still the same, and with the new characters that work just about as well as they should, and are balanced out pretty well, you know, it makes this the go-to version. Everything is unlocked from the get-go, which is so good, because I can't tell you how bad that single-player mode was. It's still just as bad here, but at least you don't have to play it in order to get enjoyment out of it. Online mode is still there. I do believe there is still friend codes, unfortunately, but that's just the Switch in general, because the Switch has to have friend codes for some dumbass reason. Nintendo, seriously, you need to move on. Local play, unfortunately, is kind of worse, though. Local play in the original game was iffy, because one player had to play on the gamepad and the other had to play on the TV screen. And while it really was the only way to do Pokken tournaments, unfortunately it's kind of bad because you had to play at 30 frames per second. Fighting games don't dare go below 60, and they have to keep a steady 60, because frame inputs are everything. Fighting games and certain other types of games where frame inputs are key, such as Tales of Symphonia as an example, or music games actually, need to have a solid frame rate of 60 frames per second. Or a solid 30, I guess, in music, but it's better to have 60 anyway. 60 frames per second is needed for fighting games. And unfortunately, that is not the case at all for Pokken Tournament on Wii U for local play. It was honestly really awkward just switching from the single player to local play because I had to get used to the 30 frames per second and I just could not get used to it. Pokken Tournament unfortunately has a worse way of local play. You can play with 2 switches, which is probably the best way, and you can also play it on the TV screen, but it has this really limited, awkward view with a lot of empty space that's just filled by a background of saying Pokken Tournament and stuff like that. Look it up, it's really awkward. It's not very well implemented, unfortunately, so local play is a bit worse in that regard. What can you do? You can still play online, that still works just fine, and the game is still 60 at that point, but yeah, play it online, trust me, you're better off doing that. Also, it's nice to have a handheld version. It's the Switch, you know, kind of expected. If anything, it actually makes grinding for levels for Pokemon a lot easier since you can essentially do it whenever the fuck you want. I particularly like using the team battle, setting it to like easy or very easy and just kicking the shit out of computers. You get like a level for each Pokemon. It's actually pretty efficient. Since you're kicking like 3 Pokemon's asses, you know, at one time, you get like essentially 3 levels. It's actually pretty good for leveling up. Unfortunately, that's really all I can say because Pokken Tournament Deluxe does not do anything especially new or original, you know? It's kind of the same game, just better. And to be fair, like I said, it turned what originally was an okay game into a pretty good one. But not the great one that I still want from Pokemon. I feel like I haven't gotten that great Pokemon fighting game that I've wanted for a while. Pokken Tournament Deluxe, in ways, comes close. The battle system is great. That is perfect. I mean, you know, the only problem I really have with it is there's a bit too much hit stun, but that's not too big of a deal if you know how to maneuver across it. You know, and the biggest thing for me, personally, is I feel like the super meters are a bit too powerful for their own good. I mean, you pretty much have an instant win round when someone gets it, and they're all pretty broken. I guess you could say in that sense it's balanced, but I think they should tone it back a bit. And maybe remove the Mega Evolutions, like, and just keep the super moves as super moves. But that's a change for another day, and the battle system, honestly, is still just fine. But when it comes to the content, that's where I really, really have a problem. And this is done by Namco Bandai. Namco apparently has also done this with Tekken, where the single-player content was just laughable. And since they're making a new Soul Calibur game, which, yes, I do know about, Soul Calibur 6, which, yes, I'm excited for. I am a little bit worried that they're gonna just gloss over single player like they did with this game and Tekken 7. I'm hoping that's not the case, but hopefully it'll be better. Hopefully. With that said, though, overall, you know, Pokken Tournament Deluxe is a fine, great Pokemon fighting game, but it still has a lot of single-player problems. I would recommend getting this game at, like, a discount, though knowing Nintendo, that might take a while. So with that said, I'm the Seaman235, signing out, and I shall see you guys later, sometime, whenever.